are we doing out there, ladies and gentlemen, as we have returned from the break live on In My Own Words, the podcast Touchdown, Alabama Magazine's own Stephen M. Smith. First off, we got a chance to recap or touch on the three takeaways from Alabama's 56-0 dominant win over the Mercer Bears on last week. But now, we switch gears and go into the 5 Crimson Tide players, 5 Alabama players I am putting on the clock this week against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. All 5 of these individuals must have a significant impact for the Tide in this game, especially for a team that wants to continue its push to get into the college football playoff for a 4th straight year. So 5 players on the clock for Alabama to have a significant impact against Auburn. I'm going to start at number 5 and go from 5 to 1. At number 5, I've got linebacker Dylan Moses. Alabama crossing its fingers that they can get Christian Miller back this week. I know Nick Saban talked about in today's presser that Miller and Terrell Lewis are both in the final phase of functional rehab. Neither of the two have been cleared by Jeff Allen, the team doctors, or anybody else in that medical training staff, but Saban not ruling neither of those two guys out. He's not ruling any of the two out for this game, just cannot make the call on if they will play or not due to the fact that they have not been cleared, still in the final stage of functional rehab, Christian Miller and Terrell Lewis. Should Nick Saban pull the route of not playing one of those two in this game, Dylan Moses, it'll be on him to duplicate what he did against Mercer, but do it on a bigger stage and trying to help Alabama clinch the SEC West title. Moses on last week, 11 tackles, which was a game high and a team high, 10 solo tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and an interception. Once again, 11 tackles. Had a big moment against Mercer. 11 tackles, 10 solo stops, 4 tackles for loss, and a pick. Dylan Moses, the freshman from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 5-star recruit. Nick Saban talked about how he had a great week of practice, was much more confident, understood exactly what he was supposed to do, did not have a lot of that anxiety, confidently was able to put guys in the right spots, dissect the play, wrap up, make tackles in space. I believe there was a stat that went like he played in 45 snaps, and of those 45 snaps, he was in on just about every tackle, which was a good thing. Running from sideline to sideline, taking the angle away, eating upfield, creating the issue. That's what Dylan Moses did. And he has to do the same thing this week at Jordan-Hare when you talk about limiting the likes of Kerryon Johnson at running back. Johnson, who's having a dynamic year for the Auburn Tigers, one of the semifinalists for the Doak Walker Award, which goes to college football's top running back. I don't know if he ended up being a finalist. I know Saquon Barkley and Bryce Love were on that list, but at the point in time last week, Kerryon Johnson, one of the semifinalists for the Doak Walker Award, also is starting to get some Heisman consideration for what he's done, not just as a running back, but also a wide receiver coming out that will catch the pass or catching passes coming out of the backfield. But Kerryon Johnson, very much so patient in his ability to hit the hole. Doesn't really hit it straight up. Lets the blocker set up in front of him, and with the smallest of creases, cracks, lane, wiggle room, hits the hole, gets a head full of steam moving downfield. It is very hard to tackle in open space. Big guy. So if you're Alabama, especially Dylan Moses, the moment you see Kerryon Johnson, see him, hit him, wrap him up, bring him down. Cannot have the yards after contact. Cannot have that. Got to be able to hit him, wrap up, make the tackle in space, or meet him in the hole. Have to be very much so mindful of where Kerryon Johnson is. Like I mentioned, he's got the vision, size, speed, acceleration, power, elusiveness, patience, all of these things compounded into one running back. And you got to make sure that once you make eye contact with him and recognize where he is in relation to where you are on the field, meet him head on, wrap him up, or meet him head on if he's catching the ball out the backfield, wrap him up, bring him down in open field. Not having the yards after catch, not having the yards after contact, and that's exactly what Dylan Moses has to do. He showed last week that he can be big time in small games against no-name teams. He will have an opportunity against a team that's got a little bit more weight, a lot more weight, against a team that's number 6 in the college football playoff rankings, against a team that has a coach in Gus Malzahn who was one of 16 semifinalists for the George Munger Coach of the Year Award, courtesy of the Maxwell Football Club. That's who Dylan Moses will have to go up against this week. But he's at number 5. At number 4, I've got Isaiah Buggs, defensive end. Now, I could have chosen Deshaun Hand, Daron Payne, Raekwon Davis. Could have chosen any of those 3 to put on this list. Either Deshaun Hand, Raekwon Davis, or Daron Payne. But I chose Isaiah Buggs simply because of the fact that if you go back 2 weeks ago against Mississippi State in rowdy, ruckus, rambunctious Davis-Wade Stadium in Starkville, there was a moment in that game. There was a moment in that game where Nick Fitzgerald is rolling out to his right. And it's the play that's 2 plays before the Hail Mary. Nick Fitzgerald breaking the pocket, rolling to his right. Isaiah Buggs chasing him down. Has the angle on him, has a hand on the jersey of Nick Fitzgerald, trying to either bring him down or force him out of bounds for a loss of yardage on the play. Could not finish the play, which allows for Fitzgerald to find a receiver for a first down along the sidelines to set up the first of 2 Hail Marys. Isaiah Buggs finishes this play. It's a negative yardage play, and the Hail Mary in question is much more difficult for Mississippi State. Against Auburn and Jarrett Stidham, when you got a chance to finish the play and sack him, you got to finish the play if you're Isaiah Buggs. You got to. When there's an opportunity for you to sack Jarrett Stidham for a loss of yardage, you have got to finish the job. Or wrap up Kerryon Johnson for a loss of yardage. You got to finish the job. Buggs on the season, 41 tackles, which is 7th on the team. He's got 2 tackles for loss. He shares a sack, half a sack, and had 7 quarterback hurries, which is tied for first on the team. Let's go through that again. 41 tackles for Isaiah Buggs, 7th on the team. He's got 2 tackles for loss, has half a sack, and has 7 quarterback hurries, tying him for first on the team, but he has to finish the play. When you have an opportunity to get a sack, tackle for loss, any negative yardage play against Auburn, and put the Tigers behind the down and distance, you got to finish the play. Can't afford to have the Tigers with Chip Lindsey and Gus Malzahn operate with 2nd and short and 3rd and short, because the whole playbook were RPOs, downfield passing shots, run game, all of that's wide open. Got to have them in 2nd and 3rd and long where that playbook condenses and you can pretty much dictate Auburn's next move. Going to be big for Isaiah Buggs to finish plays out there, which is why he is number 4. At number 3, we move to offense and we look at wide receiver Cam Sims on the clock. Wide receiver Cam Sims at number 3. Now, honestly, we all know what Calvin Ridley is capable of doing. Auburn will try to put its best coverage corner, Carlton Davis, on Calvin Ridley, but Calvin's going to get his. Calvin is known for getting his. The young man from Coconut Creek, Florida, is known to do some damage. He can do bad all by himself. Taking the movie title there from Taraji P. Henson. He can do bad all by himself. He's going to get his. And there may possibly be a moment where freshman Jerry Jeudy or Devonta Smith or Henry Ruggs III could get theirs. There could be a moment in the game where they have a marquee opportunity to step up and make a big play. But I'm putting Cam Sims at number 3 because his physical prowess, 6'5", 214 pounds, big body, can go up there and elevate, is finally healthy from the ACL he suffered a couple of years back, anterior cruciate ligament injury he suffered a couple of years back, and the shoulder issue he had last year. Finally 100% healthy, and you can tell it after the catch he made against Mercer for a touchdown. First touchdown of the season, and first touchdown since his freshman year in 2014 when he caught a 4-yard pass from Blake Sims against Western Carolina. So Cam Sims 100% healthy. I got a chance to talk to him at the open practice back in August. Once again, more reasons as to why fans need to attend the open practice. You get a chance to see the big marquee names or the guys that are pegged to be the marquee names step up, and also some very cool interviews. Cam Sims told me that his mindset is to simply produce, to pick up his game in terms of if he sees somebody else like a Calvin Ridley or a Jerry Jeudy out there struggling, pick up his game. Go over there, encourage them, give them energy, but also raise his game to help them with their game in picking up the slack on given moments. And for the most part, Cam Sims has done a pretty good job of that. 13 catches this season for 194 yards, which is third on the team in receiving yards, and does have a touchdown. Once again, Cam Sims, 13 grabs for 194 yards, third on the team, and a touchdown. He's gotten a lot better as a route runner. Has the ability to make those difficult catches along the sideline, tightrope in the sideline, clutch catches. But I believe just his physical specimen, his physical presence, 6'5", 214 pounds, will have a lot of say in getting that separation and making that impact against Auburn. Once again, we know what Calvin Ridley is capable of. This is somebody that's third all-time in Alabama history in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. I think he's also second in catches behind Amari Cooper. But yes, he is second all-time in receptions behind Amari Cooper. So we know what Calvin Ridley can do. But this can be a game for Cam Sims to rise in certain situations where he can make plays to keep Alabama ahead of a down and distance. That's why I have Cam Sims at number 3 on this list. At number 2, running back Josh Jacobs. The last 2 weeks, he has been the spark plug to get Damian Harris, and Bo Scarborough going. Damian Harris has done everything that you can ask of him to do. Still do not know why he was not a candidate for the Doak Walker Award, but that's besides the point. Still has done a strong job this season running the football with power, with speed, with aggressiveness, with an attitude to him. But the last 2 weeks against Mississippi State and Mercer, Josh Jacobs has been the spark plug, whether it's out the backfield or catching the ball from a receiving standpoint. He's been the guy to get everybody else going. Against the Bears, Alabama actually put him on kick return, did not get a chance to field a kick, but because of his all-purpose capabilities, he's got the hands, he's got the speed, he's got a ton of vision, and if he's able to field a kickoff against Auburn, and that wedge sets up perfectly, this could be an interesting endeavor. Because excluding Daniel Carlson, the very elite kicker for Auburn, the punt and kickoff coverage, both atrocious for the Tigers. Reflecting back on the Georgia game, the Bulldogs, aside from a fumble on a punt, had some moments where it gashed and slashed and destroyed Auburn on special teams. Tigers have to be prepared for Josh Jacobs, Henry Ruggs III, Trevon Diggs, Xavier Marks. But in this case, since we're talking Josh Jacobs, got to be prepared for Jacobs, especially in kickoff coverage, as he will be taking kick returns this week. Jacobs on the season, 37 carries, 251 yards, and a touchdown. In the receiving aspect, 10 catches for $159 and 2 scores. Those numbers, again, on Josh Jacobs, as a running back, 37 carries, 251 yards, and a touchdown. From the receiving aspect, 10 catches, 159 yards, 2 scores. Josh Jacobs, for me, number 2, because of his versatility, elusiveness, speed, and he brings so much to the table and can do so many things that Auburn will have to account for. He's number 2. And at number 1 on the list of players on the clock for Alabama that must have a significant impact in order to beat the Tigers, self-explanatory, it's Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has had so many moments in his career where, whether the defense has been elite, whether the defense has gone through injuries, he's had moments in his career thus far as a true sophomore where he has seized an opportunity to put the team on his back and make a big play. Going back to last year, engineered the comeback against Ole Miss when Tide was down 24-3. Alabama ended up winning that game 48-43, but it was Jalen Hurts engineering that comeback. And then against LSU, it was all defense, but Jalen Hurts, 21-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter, had 20 carries for 114 yards and a touchdown, and that touchdown helped Alabama get the 10-0 win. Once again, defense played well against the LSU Tigers in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Death Valley, Tiger Stadium, but when the moment came for Jalen Hurts to make a big-time play in a critical spot, he did that. And then against Clemson in the college football playoff national title game back in January, 2 touchdown drives by Jalen Hurts. This season, against LSU, made some big-time throws, put the team on his back, and helping Alabama get the 24-10 victory. And then against Mississippi State, 10 of 19 passing, 242 yards, 26-yard game-winning touchdown throw to Devonta Smith when the Tide had to have it. 3 of 4 on the final drive. They came with 1:09 to go in the game. 3 of 4 on the final drive for 72 yards and that touchdown dagger. Jalen Hurts has had quite a few moments where he's had to be the one to show I can beat a team throwing the football. And he has the opportunity to make a trifecta of that this week against Auburn. Hurts this season has completed 61.5% of his throws, for 1,828 passing yards, 14 touchdowns to 1 interception. Those numbers on Hurts: 61.5% completion clip, 1,828 passing yards, 14 touchdowns to 1 pick. On the ground, 119 carries for 686 yards and 8 scores on the season. Jalen Hurts right now 58 touchdowns in his career, which ties him second all-time with former Alabama quarterback John Parker Wilson. When you talk about touchdowns responsible for in a career, both guys with 58. But Jalen Hurts this week, as Alabama wants to continue its push, its surge to get into the college football playoff, but most importantly, win the SEC West and get to Atlanta for the Southeastern Conference Championship game against Georgia, Alabama has to defeat Auburn, and it starts Jalen Hurts, number 1 on this list on the clock, has to have a significant performance against the Auburn Tigers at Jordan-Hare Stadium. CBS calling the game 2:30 p.m. Central Time this weekend. So, 5 players on the clock this week that have to step up for Bama. Number 5, Dylan Moses, linebacker. 4, Isaiah Buggs, defensive end. 3, Cam Sims, wide receiver. 2, Josh Jacobs, running back. Number 1, Jalen Hurts, quarterback. Ladies and gentlemen, we take another break on In My Own Words, the podcast. Upon our return, we dive into keys to victory for Alabama. Keys to victory for the Crimson Tide this weekend. We'll look at 3 important keys. Don't touch that dial, folks. You're listening to In My Own Words, and it's brought to you by Touchdown Alabama Magazine and the guys at Bama Sports Radio. We're coming back.